We're live, Triple T, number 119. 119 of these. Holy smokehouse. For those of you tuning in for the first time, my name is TJ Zill. I call myself a professional problem solver, which I always have to finish up with, yes, I don't know everything. I just have a unique way of asking all the questions and helping people get to the root of their challenges, problems, and all of the above. I'm a board-certified clinical hypnotist, among many other things. And let's see here, we are live on YouTube, so I get to say, hi, Mom. Mom gets to watch up in Minnesota, where they're having all sorts of, man, you talk about Mother Nature off her meds. Woohoo! Yes. All 4 seasons in a day sometimes. What else we got? Yes, for those of you on YouTube and watching, if you're watching the recording, please do me a favor and do all the YouTube fun stuff. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave comments, and then comment on your comments and comment on other people's comments, because I like comments, I ain't gonna lie. I do have a website, theTSWB.com, the tall skinny white boy.com. That's what it stands for. Ask anybody that actually knows me, yes. And I do provide or offer a free, that's right, no cost to you, 30-minute consultation. That's your opportunity to spend 30 minutes of our time together to chit-chat about anything you want and see if I can help you with some of my specialties. I help people with depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, getting a lot of relationship stuff in this last year, getting a lot of success stories, a lot of breakthroughs. That's always fun. Help people with smoke cessation, public speaking fears, all sorts of fun stuff. And if I'm a fit, I will let you know. If I'm not a fit, I promise I will also let you know so that I can introduce you to some of my fine colleagues to make sure that we get you the best solution for what you need. What else we got? Oh, it's Introduce the Tie time. I've been wearing a different tie each week since the beginning of this year. This is a old one that I've had for many, many moons. I don't even remember where I got it, but it just had some cool little colors and energies in it. It is an Alexander Lloyd. I'm pretty sure that's the top of the Walmart, maybe a step above that, but it's survived quite a while, so there's that. What else we got? Questions and topics for the second hour. For those of you that are tuning in for the very first time or watching the recording for the first time, Triple T is pretty simple. First hour, I've got 3 topics that I will do my best to cover in an hour. Sometimes that has proven to be a bit of a challenge. And then the second hour is open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can bring up a topic, ask a question. So those of you watching on YouTube, feel free to join us on the call. Doesn't cost you anything. And I won't pick on you, I promise. Other than that, anybody got any ahas, epiphanies, things they'd like to share over the last 7 days? Yes, Holly.
I mean, I've got a million of them, but I will try to narrow it down to maybe just 2. So I got to work a lot with TJ on a lot of things this last week. And one of the things that really stood out to me was something he was telling me in one of our sessions about that no matter how sick you make yourself, no matter how much you hurt yourself, you can't do a single thing to make another person well by making yourself sick. And like, I don't think I'd realized it, but that I go through the world and maybe accidentally hurt this person unintentionally, and I try to make it up to them by making myself hurt, thinking somehow that's I'm doing penance for what I did. And that really stuck with me. It's like, I'm not helping them at all. I may have hurt them unintentionally, and maybe part of that's even on them for taking it that way. I don't know. But it was like, I was thinking it was about, willingness to be hurt. And it's like, what about the effectiveness? It doesn't work. So anyway, thank you for that. Really stuck with me. And then the other thing that is kind of related too, but we were talking about the importance of like reaching out to your tribe, and how I sometimes feel guilty because it's like, ugh, I'm always having to reach out to my tribe and ask for their help. And like, I get such value. I really do. But, I just hate that I'm always taking value. And I mean, several things came up, but one of the things that kind of came up while I was thinking about that is I was thinking about when my tribe reaches out to me. And I realized it takes more of my energy and hurts me more when they don't reach out to me than when they do. So anyway, just a couple things that came up. Like I said, I could probably go on for hours, but those are a couple of my takeaways from last week.
Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, first time I heard that concept was Wayne Dyer. And he said, you can never get sick enough to make somebody else healthy. You can never get poor enough to make another person rich. You can never be sad enough to make another person happy. You can only be the best version of you that you can be to make the world a better place. Lenora.
I love Wayne Dyer. Oh my goodness.
Right.
Absolutely fantastic. And I've heard that one before. And I love what you had said, Holly, about reaching out to your tribe. So there, a few weeks ago, I had started my program, Eat, Love, Heal, which I'm super excited about. And I reached out to people in my tribe, and I invited people in because I wanted them to be a part of it, but also because I needed them to be a part of it for my own moral support. And I'm so happy that they were there with open arms to want to be a part of it, to want to care and participate in it, and know that, yes, they're a part of my tribe, and I also get to be a part of their tribe. And it's just a really something that when we reach into it, we realize how much more we appreciate it. And we go into a deeper level of being a part of that tribe, but experiencing it and enjoying it, and being able to not only show up for ourselves, but show up for others on a completely different level. And it really is extraordinary. So to those who are in my tribe, and to all of you amazing people in Triple T, thank you very much for being in my tribe.
Right on. Appreciate you sharing that.
If I could chime in on that too, I just want to say I'm one of the people who got privileged to be on that. And oh my gosh, it is so amazing. And it has helped me out so much. So thank you. Yes, just want to put that in.
And because
I'm late, but here's part of my tribe. Come here. Here's part of my tribe, and Mocha took off, the big one.
Right on.
So glad to be here.
Very cool. Glad you're here, brother. And we got to see the total eclipse. That was epic. And we got super lucky here in the Burleson bubble, because all of the weather people and all those that had something to say let us know that it was going to be a cloudy, cloudy day and we were going to miss it. And it did start out with clouds. And then just as the eclipse started, the clouds disbanded just enough to work in our favor. because what we found is sometimes when we would get a thin cloud veil over, the sharpness of the eclipse was heightened because it had just enough filter to take off that sunburst air around it. So that was super cool. Anybody else get to witness the eclipse in any itty
It
bitty?
was raining by me, and there was like a slight ever part, and then it was gone again. I think we got 15 seconds.
Wow. And the weatherman said that you guys in Maine, all from Pennsylvania up through Maine, were supposed to be the only ones that were going to get a break to get to see it. And we were supposed to be in the torrential downpour and totally miss it. So, yeah, we got lucky here. You should have been here.
Good cloud clearing skills.
Uh-huh. Best case scenario. Put that up.
But I'm bummed. You're going to have to explain best case scenario again, of which briefly, where did it go? I have it posted around here somewhere. Now it's going on autopilot, guys. Just think about it. It's just like picking right up. Best case scenario.
That's the way it's supposed to be, because now how much good things do you notice around you on autopilot?
Oh, definitely. But I mine was more scenarios. Best case scenario, my post is going to show up in five seconds. But yeah, it's really, you know, rather than anticipating like, oh, what is this email going to say? Or, oh, what are they going to say? Or, oh, what's that response going to be? It's much more, oh, what might happen instead? What's the best case scenario?
Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool. Great stuff.
Cool. Anybody else before we dive into the topics of the week? Yes, no, maybe so. Well, let's introduce the topics. Yeah. But the only place that I would really like to be a weatherman and get paid for it would be like San Diego. Other than that, and even though they've had a pretty rough winter, the majority of their year is like, well, this week's weather is going to be pretty much like last week's weather. You're welcome. Back to you, Bob. But back to the topics. We've got losing to shouldas, which I actually had a different title for it. I'll share a little bit later. Ratcheting to a 10, and love is a verb. So, losing to shouldas. All these people that I think part of the challenge in us awakening and improving our thought processes and things of that nature. Tell me if you agree with me. Do you start hearing more, or do you start noticing people talking negatively around you the more you start self-work and watching your language? Anybody else out there? Because anybody who's around me long enough knows I call people out all the time. Did you just say that? Well, yeah, but and especially people that invest so much time and energy in shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Well, I should have done this. Well, I should have done that. If I would have just, and you guys have heard me say it many times, the more you shoulda, the shouldier your life will be, until you're just left with a shoulda life. And who needs a shoulda life? Which is why the original title for this topic was Sharding with Shouldas. But I didn't want to post that on Facebook, so But we know the people. They are so stuck in the past. I showed it last week. They take the rear view mirror and they pull it off, and it's right here. And they're driving going, oh my gosh, we're going to die. Everything's terrible. Get that rear view mirror. Some of them I'm telling, throw it out the window. You're not going there. That's why the rear view mirror is this big and the windshield is this big. And it's also why it's preferable to have a vehicle with some side windows so that you have the ability to, when you're driving, look over and go, ooh, I shouldn't be here. I should probably be over there. But you would have never known that from back there. That's why Jordan Peterson says, if you're trying to decide between some things to do, pick one and do it. Pick one and get after it, because at some point you'll be driving along and either you'll recognize that you're on the right path, or you will see the other path and go, oh, I need to be over there. And at that point you can do it, but even then, you don't get to look and start staring in the rearview mirror of, well, I should have been on there in the first place. No, you don't get to do that. Or you would have picked it back then. You have information now. You're not the same person you were back there. That's why I love the mantra. You can't live in a shoulda life, because at the time you did the best you could with the tools, the knowledge, and the energy you had available to you at the time. If you could have done better, you would have done better. That's why it says if you could have done better, instead of you should have done better and you didn't, loser. Yeah, you don't get to put that part in there. Because again, if you could have done better, yeah, but if no, you know that now, because hindsight is always 20/20. And so losing your life to shouldas will rob you of the glory of the moment, the enjoyment of the moment. I see people all the time that are so miserable. Their life is fine, but they're staring at the should-haves. Oh, but I could be so much happier, but I should have. If I just would have, I should have done. Anybody know somebody like that? Or a flock or a tribe, or been guilty of it in the past? Been there, done that. But I've learned, again, shoulding all over yourself still doesn't change the past at all. It's like the concept of taking poison, hoping to make somebody else sick. Your past isn't suffering at all. It's done. It's over. And you can lament all you want, or you can take the lessons out of the shouldas and move forward. That's the only thing you should bring with you from the past, is the lessons. and apply them. I got all these lessons. I've never used them, but boy, did I pay a lot for them. I've met a few people like that as well. In fact, I work with, I'm working with a couple of relationship clients right now that came to me because they had an amazing collection of lessons buried in a big, deep pile of shoulda and were miserable and didn't use any of the lessons. But they could tell you what they were. It's almost like watching them go. I learned when I was a kid that if you take a hammer and you put your hand out on the table and you smack it, it hurts. Just like that. Every time I take that hammer and I smack my hand, it hurts. Every time I go out with a guy and he tells me this thing, he does this. So you smacked yourself on the hand with a hammer? Well, yeah, kind of, but I should have known. Well, yeah, you should have. At some point, you might. We can help you with that if you allow it to happen. Any comments, ahas, epiphanies on that topic? Holly.
Going first, everything so fast. I mean, this is obviously something I'm going to need to come back and listen to probably 100 times over because it's that important, especially for me. But I did have.
Did you just do that? Did you just set yourself up to fail before you even got to try? See, this is what I do.
I'm not failing. I'm listening to it so I can remind myself so I can stay in that good place. But I did get a couple of downloads while you were talking too. So the first one is because should have is actually kind of two different concepts because you've got should and have. So you've got the fact that it's in the past and also that you're saying should. And one of the things that I was thinking too is should according to who? And often when I get in there, it's not according to me. It's according to my parents. It's according to, my religion. It's, it's, and maybe not my religion, but according to somebody who is clearly misinterpreting my religion in a very obvious way, or, and so, and then the other thing with the past is, the should could also go forward or backwards. But then when it comes with the past, we think hindsight is 20/20, but it's not. Because we think that we can play the alternate scenarios and know how they would have played out. Mm-hmm. And what TJ was saying, if we had better skills, we would have done better. But at the same time, maybe that was one of many experiences that we needed to get the learning that we needed. And if we take that out of our past, then we don't get the lesson and we don't get the experience that we need. Well, need might be too strong a word, but that brought us to who we are today. And so we wouldn't be who we are today if we didn't go through that experience. So anyway, just a couple things that were popping into my head.
Cool. Thank you for sharing it. Mark.
Someone who inhabits the house as well as I do. She had a, shoulda, woulda, coulda, little trial learning. When we were at my daughter's house for a cookout, she had an amount of wine, and then my son-in-law came out of the house with a bottle of Jose Cuervo. And after about 6 shots, I had to pour her into the car. And but we got home and we made it to the driveway, and as little as is, started to projectile vomit. I was pressed at a distance, achieved with her, and it was all over the driveway. But it was single trial learning. The next day, so no, I'm never gonna again. So
yes,
that's, shoulda, woulda, coulda, or shouldn't have, wouldn't have, couldn't have.
there's a lot to be said about the single trial learning. And what I teach my clients is that's where you take just the lesson. You don't have to take all of the feces the lesson is buried inside of. And so many people bring all of the feces along with the lesson. Just like, one of the things that I talk about when you're a kid and you want to figure out why the burner on the stove is red. And you want to reach up and touch, and Dad says no. You're like, but why? Because I said no. That's enough. And you reach up and he says no again. Finally, because you're you know everything and Dad's just being a poo-poo head, you touch the burner. Instant lesson. Now, if Dad had not been around, that lesson would have still been plenty to make sure that most likely you're not going to do that for the rest of your life. That lesson burned right in. Plasticity at that moment, deep, permanent. But Dad saw you do it. He told you 28 times not to do it. Now you burned yourself and you're crying. Now he's mad because you didn't listen to him. And he cracks you one on the behind because he thinks that he needs to reinforce that lesson. And that's all the feces that was piled on top of the lesson. And so many people bring the whole package with. And I'm like, you don't need the whole package. You just need the lesson. Use the feces to go fertilize some plants or something. Let the karma police take care of that. Well, I shoulda. Yeah, but you didn't. You still got the lesson. You didn't have fingerprints for a month. And now, where's the memory? It's gone. It's here. You recovered. What are you bringing with? Do you want to touch a red hot burner again? No. See? Lessons intact. You're good. You can leave the rest behind. No sharding with shouldas. Great visual, right? Yes. And now that I got Linda trying to enjoy her dinner, should we move on to the next one? Unless anybody's got any other ahas, epiphanies, comments they would like to share with that. Yes, no, maybe so. Okay. Yes, Lenora.
I think should-haves are definitely very interesting because as the deeper the word, and this is actually a question that I have for hour two, so I'm going to try not to tell you the question. I'll keep you all in suspense. There's so many layers that as you get to know yourself more, you don't realize that you're still doing certain things. So you really have to be on guard and really notice what you're doing and how you're thinking so that you really don't stick in that should have habit, even though you think you might have dropped that should have habit. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yes, and that's why your tribe is so important, and evolving your tribe. Because the more you become cognizant of shoulda, negative talk, all of the above, chances are, if you've been around a particular tribe for quite a while, they probably talk a lot like that. Because tribes that are positive, reinforcing things of that nature, typically will call out the singular person who is very negative, or they will find ways to ease their way out of their presence.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are working on becoming a better version of yourself, it's monumentally important to also improve the tribe, the people you hang out with. It has been proven numerous times. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. If you're wondering kind of where you're at on the global scale, take a look at the 5 people you hang out with the most. And if you're the smartest person in the room, I've said it many times, change rooms. You can always go back to visit, but it's probably not the best place to grow.
I think that goes back to what Holly had shared at the very beginning about being in tribes and, wanting to, allowing yourself to reach out to them, but also allowing yourself to be a part of that and to consistently hold yourself accountable, but also to hold those people accountable to continue to encourage and support and help them grow in the way that they want to, but also in the way that feels supported.
And
more tribe talk, guys.
Yeah, and one of the things that I ask clients is, okay, for this next part, do you want a coach or do you want a buddy? Do you want to hear what you need to hear, or do you want me to give you a little fluff talk and rah and send you off without any? And I get their permission so that they understand I'm about to say something that might be a little on the pain side. And it's not intended to be painful, but it may be a bit uncomfortable. And I'm saying it out of love and respect, not malice and attack. And that's, especially people that are in sports, they get it right away. Even if all they do is watch sports. Now, you don't want the coach that's out there screaming and yelling his head off about everything, and you got to be perfect. But you also don't want the coach out there going, yeah, you dropped the ball, but hey, good hustle. So you need that balance to be able to get in and help people improve for the right reasons. Which I'm going to segue right into the next topic of ratcheting to a 10. Unless, do you have something you want to add to that before we? Okay. Ratcheting to a 10.
That was me rolling out the red carpet.
Ratcheting to a 10 is important, especially when working with clients, to help them remember where they came from. Some people think that the transformation or the progress is going to be this nice slope, and I'm going to be perfect. And they don't realize that a lot of times when you're working on yourself, you start at a 4 and you bust your butt and you get up to a 5 and then you drop back down to a 4 and you're like, ah. And then you bust your butt and you get to a 6 Now you're down to a 5. Then you do another rally and you get to a 7. Now you're at a 6. And you do another rally and you're at an 8. And then you're at a 7. And I've watched so many people, so many of my clients that pop to this from an 8 to a 7, and they're like, oh, I can't get this. I just beat myself up. And I'm like, you started at a 4. I want you to look back when we first started working together. I want you to think back, however long that's been. How would you have reacted back then over this situation? Oh, well, I probably would have blown my top and screamed and yelled and cried for a week and hid in a hole and yeah. You looked at the rearview mirror, but short term. I should have known this. I mean, oh my gosh. Look, I'm right back where I started. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. But a year ago, you were a 4. Oh. Then it's like the old church lady. Never mind. And that's one of the important parts. And I'm just as guilty of it. That's why it's so important about taking pictures or recording where you started. I'm one of those that when I work on projects, I just want to dive in, get it going, get it done, get it da-da-da-da-da. And I get it done and I'm like, oh, you should have seen it when I started. Shoot, forgot the before pictures again. And sometimes that's really important so that we can understand the amount of work that we were able to accomplish with our skill sets. Any input, ahas, epiphanies you guys want to share on ratcheting to a 10? Yes.
I would like to personally argue for my limitations. I have valid reasons for why I should be doing better. I'm just going to leave it there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Would you like me to be your coach or your buddy? Mark.
Well, sometimes when you're climbing the ladder, again, ratcheting up, as you would say, sometimes you fall back down a few rungs. I always tell people that, again, look inside. That doesn't feel right. It's like a suit you've outgrown, or and that tells you to climb back up. That's nation of clean.
Yes. That's why it's important to keep track of A, where you want to go and why, and B, where you've been, not for the shoulda, woulda, couldas, but to understand you're not the same person. And as long as you're moving forward, even inchworms will outrun a rock. as long as they're moving. The other thing where it's Holly.
See what you're gonna say first. I can wait.
What's that?
I wanted to hear what you were gonna say, but
Oh, no, go ahead.
oh, sorry. Well, one of the other things I was thinking too is our brain goes back in the past and assumes that say we started at a 4. It assumes that even if we'd done nothing, we would have stayed at a 4, which is not true. If we'd done nothing, we probably would have been at a 0. And so even if you work and you ratchet up to the 5 and you drop down to a 3, that doesn't mean you worked backwards. It doesn't mean your effort meant nothing. It's still not a 0. It's still better than that 0 you'd be at. But the brain sometimes focuses so much on incremental change and how, I compare it to yesterday, that it forgets even who I was yesterday was doing stuff.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And right back to, again, the importance of tribe. So that when you're having your I slipped down 2 rungs meltdown, your new tribe can go, yeah, but you're still better than you were last year. And you have the insights of where you were that you didn't have before. You saw the view from the upper rung. And the nice thing is, it can be kind of a, correct me if I'm wrong, but it can be kind of a double-edged sword when you start to see what you're capable of doing. Because some people live blissfully in the darkness their whole life. And for them, that's their life, not yours. It's kind of like in the Matrix, he had 2 options. You take this pill, and your eyes will open and you can never unsee what you've seen. You take this pill, and you remember nothing of this, and you go blissfully into normalcy. And some people they simply just want to be in that blissful darkness of everything is okay. And that's their life to live. I couldn't do that because I've already taken the other pill. As Dr. David Snyder always says, I guess I'm that special kind of stupid. I don't know when to stop learning. I don't know when to stop helping people, and I just want to keep getting better. Michael.
I think we all are. That's why we're here.
That's why this is my kind of tribe, the kind of people I want to be around. And the people that I described as living blissfully in the darkness would stay on here probably for about 5 minutes or maybe longer, just to go, y'all are kind of weird. Kind of freaking me out. I'm going to go back to my television. Nothing against television, if that's your jam, but watch what you're watching. And that gives us 15 minis left. Any other questions, ahas, epiphanies on ratcheting to a 10? I just got one. I forgot there's also another use for ratcheting to a 10 or ratcheting from 10 down, and that's for pain management. I've used that many times for headaches, migraines, other pains that you're allowed to take away before anybody freaks out. If somebody comes to me with chest pain, I'm like, get your butt to the doctor first to make sure you're not having a heart attack or something else. If it's an understandable, like I've got a headache or I've got allergies or something like that, okay, those I can work with. But it's interesting how human beings have an amazing propensity to make pain worse. They can do it automatically. And you use that to your advantage. And so if I ask somebody, okay, is there any reason that you want to keep this headache? And some may, I don't know, that's why I ask. But it gives them the choice, and then I go, okay, on a scale 1 to 10, 10 high, where is your headache now? And regardless of what they say, some of them will be like 11. I'm like, well, 1, you don't follow directions, but okay, you're at 11. Can you take it up to a 12? They'll be like, what? I'm like, close your eyes, focus in on the pain in your head, and I want you to take it from an 11 to a 12. And you can see it in their face. They're like, ugh. Like, let me know when you get there. Okay. Like, okay, so you've been able to make it worse. Now I want you to take it from a 12 back to 11. Let me know when you get there. Okay. Now take it, now that you've got control of it, take it from an 11 to a 10. Okay. Now that you got it to a 10, take it back up to 11 where you were before. Okay. Now go from 11 to 9, and that's when you start ratcheting. Okay, you made it to a 9, go back to a 10. Now go to an 8, now go back to a 9. Now go to a 7, go back to an 8. And you ratchet yourself down until they can't hit that next full number. Like you're at a 3, but they can't seem to hit a 2. Now hit a 2.5. Let me know when you get there. Okay. Now go back to a 3. Now go to a 2. Now go back to 2.5. Now go back to, and you keep ratcheting down. And I've had some of them where I've been able to ratchet them to a 0, but I'm relentless, so I won't take them. I'll take them even farther. Let's see if we can get it even farther down. You got it to a 0. Can you take it to a -1 where it's actually feeling good? And you get them smiling. So that's another form of using ratcheting. Any questions, ahas, epiphanies on that? I like Elijah put in, your speed doesn't matter, forward is correct on the other one. Yes. Holly.
So I just, when you were talking about that, I had this thought. So the analogy that came into my mind, here in my state, we have this place called Heartbreak Ridge. And what it was is as the pioneers were coming into the valley, there's a final steep hill that they have to go up to, and they knew it was steep. But there's a second to final ridge, peak that you go to, and it's not. And basically, what would happen is they get to the top, and they'd say, "Oh, here's the steep hill. This must be it. This must be where I need to go." And then they'd get to the top, and then they'd see the really final one that they had to scale or climb up. And one of the thoughts I had on that is, kind of what you're talking about. Sometimes you do have to go the other direction. So forward in that case, when you get to Heartbreak Ridge, is you actually have to go down first before you could go back up again. But that doesn't mean you're not making progress. It doesn't mean you're not moving forward, because that is the next step sometimes.
Yep. And that's why when I do forward pacing, future pacing, I have them look back and let them know. I also point out, now you see there are some bumps, there are some valleys along the way. Are there any that would keep you from moving forward? So that they can visualize that it's not a smooth, constant incline. It has a little bit of dips, and if they come across what we call a landmine or something that derailed them, then we can go address that and then go back to the future to see if it was taken care of. And we could go on to that one for another 3 hours, but I've got 9 minutes to talk about the last topic, see if we can sneak it in. Any other ahas, epiphanies on ratcheting before we switch over to love is a verb? No? Anybody recognize the title of a song, Love is a Verb? John Mayer. Great song, and to just do a schmooved over, glossed over deal of it is you get to do love things. You choose to do love things. You ask somebody to describe what love is, and a lot of times they describe it as a feeling. But when you ask them what caused the feeling, a lot of times it's a verb. The things that you choose to say, the actions that you choose to do, the beliefs that you choose to believe. And when I'm working with my relationship clients and I'm pointing that out to them, I want them to, when they're writing in their journal about their person and again their tribe and things of that nature, to understand that you should also include the verbs of love, the actions of love, so that you can understand what is it about love that's important to you, and what it is and what it is not, so that we can break the cycle of dating the same meathead in a different meat suit. And of this eclipse, for any of you that felt a little weird, a little emotional, a little what in the last 4, 5, 6 days, yeah, that was pretty much worldwide. How do I know? I had about 4 or 5 clients having meltdowns. Worked with 2 of them today, and now that the eclipse is over, epiphanies. Oh. So don't feel bad if you were in a little bit of a energetic what. There was a vast majority of us that were, and it didn't help that we had the media all sending out amazing negative programming. Here in Texas, they were letting us know, apocalypse is coming. Buy groceries. Get all the gas. Buy water. At least they didn't say, we're out of toilet paper. birds are going to drop out of the sky. Dogs will be mating with cats. Oh my gosh, it's all new. There we were in the front yard going, okay, that was cool. Well, vehicles are still running. Kind of like the Y2K scare. And yet it was that amount of energy thrown out worldwide. Well, of course there was a little energy shift. Because there's still enough people plugged in to worst case scenario thinking that if you tell them there might be a meltdown, they're going to let everybody know there's going to be a meltdown. I heard it. The sky is falling. And I know the squirrel kind of took me off on a little tangent there, but it also allowed me to work with my clients and say, some of them are in the process of spending some time with a potential. And the Eclipse pulled some fast ones on the potentials. Oh, they just disappeared, and then I sent them this one text, and they never text me back, and it's over. And I said, hey, that's a wonderful worst case scenario thought. What would be best case scenario? And if that best case scenario were true, what kind of a text would you send them then? And so we did a little bit of work, and they realized that maybe they got caught up in some of that negative energy as well. One of them sent out a couple of texts. The text came back, yeah, it's been a little freaky around here, a little weird. I meant to text you back, been a little busy, sorry. But in doing that, I said, what would your person do? Would your person do this to you? How would your person show you love in a situation like this? Love is a verb. How would you feel if that was truly your person? How would you react? How would you show your love? Well, yeah, but I shoulda. Oh, you shoulda on yourself again? I suck at this. No, 4 years ago you sucked at this. Oh, yeah. What verbs are you going to use now? Different ones. When you use the different ones, how did they react? Way different. When you stopped thinking worst case scenario, thought best case scenario, which one showed up? Best case. For reals? Like for real? Like you thought how things could go right and all of a sudden they did? Quinky dink? Maybe not. Keep testing that theory for the rest of your life. Let me know how it goes. Any ahas, epiphanies, things you want to share now that I'm at the top of my hour? Lenora.
Bashar has been, this one reel keeps coming up, and it's so similar to best case scenario. And he basically says that no matter what happens, always keep thinking, how will this work out? That this is working out in my favor. This will work out. I don't know how, but this will work out. This will work out. and to just simply keep focusing on that. And it really goes in quite alignment with your best case scenario. And I also put in the chat up here earlier, I have to scroll up, something about how do you know which one it is? The yeah buts. I said the part of your brain that's saying yeah but, like I should be doing this, I should be doing that. Would you consider that a part? Would you consider that an ego? Would you consider that an echo from a critical voice? And which way, how to navigate that? Because when you're calm and when you're like, yeah, I'm feeling good and refreshed, like, yeah, it'll work out. But then when you're SR user fried and you're in the height of it, it's a totally different story. And perhaps it's just one of those things that you reach out to your tribe and you're like, hey, I'm having a meltdown right now. But then you could also feel like you're reaching out to your tribe having a meltdown about the same topic again and again and again. So,
and it's up to your tribe. It's up to your tribe to go, we've seen this before. What is it? How do we address it? Is it legit? And if you've got certain types of tribes, they can go, okay, so what are three possible solutions to this? Because there's always at least three solutions to every event, situation, or problem. Also, which one of your personalities brought this up? Was it the optimistic one? Was it the business-minded one? Was it the 5-year-old? Or was it the torqued off college, everybody sucks, I'm burning the planet down, I'm throat punching the next person around me, and I'm going to kick small animals and slap the next nun I find?
Somewhere between yawning, burping, and trying to make a logical statement here. There's a lot in the field. According to Elijah, he goes, so kind of apart is what I hear. All right. Taken into consideration.
Again, right back to the importance of having a tribe. And a tribe that is willing to tell you what you need to hear, not what they think you want to hear.
So then my question jumping into, all right, I'll hold my question. I'll come back.
No, this is your guys' hour, so it is question time.
So then would you consider it something that you need to go deeper in with your personal development when it comes to a specific topic? Or is it a mix of like ask your tribe and then reflect on it?
And great way to start the second hour. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time or watching the recording for the first time, as I reminded earlier, second hour is open platform, open mic. Anybody on the call is allowed to ask a question or bring up a topic. And I have everybody on the call answer first because I like to learn as well. And if there's anything I feel I can add, then I do that last. So, who's got an answer for Lenora on this question? This is usually where we get the polite chipmunk, as I call it. Well, after you, in case somebody wants to go first, I'm just going to hold on. I'm going to wait until somebody... No, dive right in. Answer first. Whoever gets on the mic first, you guys can battle it out. Do you guys need a refresher on the question now that I've done a whole bunch of intro? And Lenora's like, thanks. Couldn't somebody have typed it out for me so that I...
If it's a reoccurring topic, is it something that you would bring to your tribe and work on collectively and try to figure it out, and something that you would continue to go deeper on the reflective piece of it. And it's one of those things that I do so much out here that, oh, go ahead, Mike. I see you and said you ready to rumble. Let's go.
I just need that little refresher. You brought me back into the space there. If it's a recurring topic, you already know the answer. And your tribe already knows the answer. So you got to go with your gut. Take a deep breath, breathe it in, and then you can decide.
Great answer. Who wants to add on to that? Holly.
I'll add a bit. First of all, one of the things I like to do is ask my gut, why is this a recurring thing? And I tend to get two responses to that. One is, maybe three responses actually. One might be that something's trying to get my attention, and for whatever reason, I'm just not paying attention to it. Sometimes I get the answer that it actually isn't a recurring thing, it just appears to be. So kind of like, when we talk about in clearing, sometimes you have a Russian doll effect. So they all seem to be related, but it's just, oh, I have now leveled up. Now I have a leveled up question on the same area. Oh, now I leveled up again. Now I've got another level up question on the same area. And then the third answer that sometimes comes up is, this is your golden path. This is something related to your golden path. And so this is the area that, you're exploring it, every inch of it, every direction, learning everything you possibly can about it, because this is important to you. There might be others, but those are the first three that popped up for me. I will say whether in all three scenarios, I'm going to ask myself and I'm going to ask my tribe. But it's very useful for me to know what is it I'm trying to get from my tribe and what is it that I'm trying to get from asking my gut. The know your outcome kind of thing. Because your tribe can see things that you can't see, but at the same time, you can see things that your tribe can't see. And so I often think of it as, I think I've used this analogy before, but the idea of a coffee cup, if the coffee cup is truth and you live in a two-dimensional world, the way you learn it is you shine the light and you get to see the shadow. Well, if I'm directly below the coffee cup, I get a circle. If I'm to the side, I get a rectangle. And, all of these, they may not be the full picture, but every different angle I can possibly get gives me more information and more understanding. And it's adding those perspectives together that gives me the best results.
Again, Holly, you hit it, because that's what you do. Great information. Elijah.
Morning. Morning. So firstly, a lot of times when people have something that's recurring, they're coming at it from this like, oh, it's still a problem and I still didn't solve it kind of frustration. And I like to remind them that they could be grateful that the perfectionist in them is not accepting the progress made thus far as completed. Right? So every time you work through something, be it on your own or with someone in your tribe or, the whole tribe getting together and working on the one issue, it's not going to be the same. Each time you knock it out, it comes back a little bit different and a little bit not quite what it originally was, but you'll have a little more clarity on it, a little more, it happened again, but this time it happened this other specific way, which somehow, wasn't inoculated with the previous work that we did. So you could be grateful for that there is a perfectionist in you who knows exactly what you want in terms of a result, and that it's not going to be satisfied until we get it right fully. And remember that each step is a progression and an unfolding. It's more about becoming. It's like I always used to say it's about being, but now I think more it's about becoming. right? That we are a work in progress. Life will always present us with problems and issues, and though we might think that they are the same as the ones we have dealt with before, if you look closely and pay real close attention, you'll notice that it's not exactly the same. And once you start realizing where those subtle little changes are, you'll have more targeted information and data that you can share with your coaches, your tribe, your, whoever it is that's helping you, and you can make progress yet again. So I think it's really cool, actually, that there is a part of you inside that, though you thought it was handled, was not quite willing to accept a job that isn't fully complete just yet, but will be soon. That determination, that relentless, over and over, I'm not stopping till it's done, that is to be commended. So that's kind of what I wanted to add.
Very cool. Mark. You're muted, Mark.
Adding on a little bit what
There
Elijah
we go.
said. Every time you have this current, this currents, that could be the next step in unpacking
Yep.
and leading to a final resolution. It's a
Cool. Anybody else before I toss in my two centavos? Mike.
One more thing along those lines. I worked with a shaman a long time ago, and she gave me a huge bullet. And basically what it was is we're all here to learn our lessons. And everyone has their own lessons that they need to learn. And being that we're all go-getters, we want all our lessons right now. And some of these lessons might really just knock your shit in the dirt. And her suggestion was, in the morning when I wake up, or when anyone wakes up, you should meditate, connect yourself with the earth and the flow, and then ask your angels, guides, spirit guides for your lessons to be brought gently for your highest and best good. And I kid you not, that was probably one of the best things that's happened in my life as far as having my lessons come gently.
Yes. Great answer. And what I was going to add on to, anybody else have anything before I give my two centavos? Holly.
Actually, they say other people ask the question you need when you get with your tribe often, and definitely happened. But from what everybody else was saying, another thing that came to me too is look at the energy with which you're asking. Are you asking from a, hey, this is awesome, I'm doing my growth, and I trust my tribe to have a certain perspective, and I trust myself to have a certain perspective? Or are you asking from a, I'm asking my tribe because I don't trust myself to have a perspective at all? Or I'm beating myself up because, this came up again. Are you kidding? I was supposed to have mastered it. So I think the who you ask isn't as important as the energy that you're asking with and the intention you're asking with and the credit you're giving to yourself and also to your tribe.
Awesome. Anybody else? One of the things I wanted to add is, and I know some of you have heard about this, but I want to get it on the recording. When working through certain things, especially using techniques like holographic memory resolution and things of that nature, energy clearing, we'll feel something here and we clear it, and then it's over here. And then we clear that, and then it's something up here, and we clear that, and then there's something over here, and we clear that. It's not the exact same issue, but it's a compounded, connected issue that once you get on the topic, as Holly pointed out, well, I cleared this, I should be good. Yes, but this is connected to it. It's not the exact same duplicate. It could be like she said, the Russian doll effect. You took out the big one, now there's one inside of that, and then there's one inside of that, then there's one inside of that, then there's one inside of that. And that's where you have to be relentless. Some of my clients know I can be mighty relentless when I need to be. I will dig until I can't find anything else to dig. And yes, I like what Elijah just pointed out. We are but a community of cells living together. And so you have to understand there will be times when you can knock it out of the park. You got this one issue, you go in, bam, that thing is done. Bada bing, bada boom. Smoke cessation. I've got a number of clients. One and done. Boop. But then I've got clients with other challenges, like I say, that they're intricate. And I try to remind them, give yourself a little credit. You've only been building this issue for how many years now? Yes, it would be nice if we can fix a 40-year-old issue in 40 minutes. And I'm up to the challenge, but if it doesn't get completely cleared the first attempt in 40 minutes, how much were we able to get out? How much success did we have? Let's keep working. And another good point, Elijah. Even if you smash it out of the park, did you condition it yet? And part of it is, I'll clear stuff up, but people forget to change their lifestyle or their habits in alignment with the new cleared self. I quit smoking, but I go back to the same bar and hang out with all my buddies that I've always smoked with for the last 42 years. Had a couple of drinks, which is when I used to smoke the most. And now I'm smoking again. It didn't work. Well, you may have to change a few things on the exterior while you're changing the interior. Again, right back to tribe. If you want to change yourself, you may have to change your tribe along with it to make sure that you're not picking up on their energy and programming and environment. That makes sense? Yeah. Proxemic anchors. If you want to touch on that, Elijah, please.
So it just means the surroundings that you spend most of your time in, and if you have certain repeating thoughts and repeating emotions while you sit in a similar posture in the same seat, the same room, facing the same way, and you might have this unbelievably amazing session or series of sessions, or a therapeutic getaway or something, and you come back and you sit in the same seat, facing the same way, in the same posture, and it triggers all your muscle memory. And your muscle memory, you also have emotional memory. You
Yep.
also have thought memory. It's going to lead to the same kind of chains and trains of thought, right?
Yep.
So, oftentimes just moving your furniture around can be a massive help, or changing who you're hanging out with, or instead of sitting on a desktop computer, maybe next time it's time to upgrade, you get yourself a laptop, and then you could be anywhere in any different position. You don't have to sit at the same desk all the time, right?
Yep.
Or all kinds of things. They're basically spatial. Proxemic, it just means proximity, so you know how close you are to it, physically close. And really, they're just spatial anchors, things that remind you. I like if you hear that word as two words, things that remind you,
Yep.
right? To think the same thoughts and feel the same feelings, and re-trigger old habits, right? We all know that there are really good and strong methodologies when it comes to changing habits. Like if you're not a gym going person and you want to become a gym going person, then there are certain things that you can do systematically over a period of, to do it healthily and permanently. You probably take a few months, right? Of daily doing the same new behavior repeatedly over and over and over until you become accustomed to that. And a lot of times when it comes to using things like NLP, hypnosis, HMR, and all these other cool, speedy techniques, yeah, you can get the big shift, but you have to still make the shift in the real world as well. You can't just make it in your mind, right? I would consider I used to think of hypnosis as like oh, you can just, choose from the buffet all the things that you want to get rid of and all the new things that you want to install, and then you go through this ritual maybe a couple times, and then boom, it's like a software upgrade. It's done and dusted. And the truth of the matter is, it's only done and dusted on one half of the equation. If you don't start taking the action in the real world that supports the new mentality and the new emotions, then it will not have the other half of the feedback loop to indeed become a feedback loop that does feed onto itself and that does propel you in a new direction that is more conducive to the outcome that you really want. And
Yep.
so it's very important, they say knowledge is power, but it's not true. Knowledge is only potential power.
Yes.
Okay? It's knowledge plus action that is power. If you know, but you don't do anything, then you might as well not know. I'm sorry I got a little bit serious, but as you can tell by the tone of my voice, I'm pretty passionate about this kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I bought all these books. I should be smarter. Did you read any of them?
Well, even if you read them, you are smarter in one way. In one way, you are. But if you recall, David told us, and I'm talking about David Snyder, told us that for everything you must pay twice, right? You must pay the initial cost of acquiring the book or the course or whatever it is you're trying to learn, but then you must pay a second time with action and repetition and practice until you become an expert in that field, in that area. And that repetition, that second step, that's, so first is the cost of acquisition, and the second is the cost of ownership. And in order to own that skill, in order to hone that skill, it's like trying to walk for the first time. You just get up and you fall down, and you get up and you fall down, and maybe you get up and take one step and then fall down. But you got to keep going until it becomes second nature, and you can't remember it being any other way. And the amazing thing is, right, your body and your unconscious mind is so freaking clever and so freaking adaptive that it's not going to take anywhere near as long as you fear that it's going to take.
Yep.
Just do it 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 10,000 times. It'll be over before you. How many times have you looked at the calendar and, oh my God, it's freaking April 2024 already. What the hell? Where did this year go? How did 1/3 of this year almost disappear already? Right in front of my nose.
Yeah.
Time is gonna fly by whether you like it or not. So you may as well get something done. We all have that 5 minutes, and it's all it takes. Quick 5 minutes just to try something and practice something. Before you know it, you'll have mastered it, and 5 minutes will bore you, so you'll go for 10. And that's how it works.
And I'm so glad you brought that up and talked about it, especially with the proxemic anchors. I remember a couple of people that were advised about the divorce bed. Don't fight over the divorce bed. Yeah, but we just got it. Don't bring the energy with you. If you get the house, get rid of the bed, rearrange the furniture or get new furniture, change things around, like you said, so that you're not in that same energy, not living the same stuff. And then I like what Dr. David pointed out about one guy, well, I want to make more money. And it was, I called it zip code income. You want to make more money? Move to where it's more expensive to live. Move to where people are making more money. And by being around that energy and putting in the work, you will be more inclined to be more successful. And like Elijah pointed out, you can't just move to Beverly Hills, and because there are homeless people in Beverly Hills too. I'm sure they're just not as prevalent or the above, but you still have, being in that new environment, that new outlook, allowing that new change to set in place until, like Elijah said, it gets so ingrained you can't picture yourself being who you were once before. Anybody else got anything they want to share on that? Yes, Fran.
I guess going back a few conversations ago on this, and you guys again for coming in a bit late, but being aware of what you're asking for, and are you prepared for the price? If you want big change and you want it fast, if that's what the energy you're putting out, sometimes that's what you will get. You know, if you ask, you do get. And sometimes it's not always in the way you expect. So when you want big changes, be prepared for the unexpected. You have to be flexible and dancing on your toes, ready for it, or again, ask for it gently. Because if you ask the universe for a big change, you're going to get it. And sometimes it goes wham. And having been a recipient of this, it's often a bit of a life-changing event. So be careful what you wish for, and be grateful for what you wish for, because if you do get one of those whammies that totally changes your life, it will in the big picture, be the fastest way there. It's just that you probably didn't expect that way it was going to manifest. And it will get the job done, but maybe not so comfortably. So gentle is good. Gentle and slow is really good.
And when you mentioned that, it reminded me of a point I was going to bring up when Lenora was talking about Bashar. Regardless of what happens, it's happening for my greater good in the future. Best case scenario thinking. And the reason I bring that up is like when we teach manifesting, and I've seen it enough times now. Oh, I really want this new car. I really want this car. This is the car I want. And 5 days later, the car they have gets totaled. They're like, what? But it wasn't their fault. And the insurance company hands them over a check that happens to be just enough for that new car that they were talking about that they couldn't figure out how they were ever going to get. Or the person that, man, I really want a $25,000 raise at work. 2 weeks later, fired, laid off, whatever. What? Now I'm unemployed? And the next job pays them $25,000 more than they were making at the other job.
Well said.
And they can either suffer through it, worst case scenario thinking, oh my gosh, this happened to me and now, or they can go, everything is happening for the greater good for me. Best case scenario thinking. I lost my job so that I can get a better job, because there's always a better job. I've said that to many of my clients, many of my friends. There is always a better job out there. That's why I've had so many different professions, because my mantra was, I was looking for a job when I got this one. Now, that doesn't mean that I was a job hopper, like, oh, you said something that hurt my feelings, screw you, I'm quitting, and off I go. I did a lot of travel, and I have this crazy addiction to sleeping indoors and eating. Yeah. So I didn't have a problem taking a job, whatever job I could, but I didn't lament about, oh, I got this job and this sucks and I'm going to be stuck in it forever. I was thankful for what I had, knowing that something better was out there if I wanted to work towards it. Anybody else got anything they want to say? That Elijah put in there, pain is inevitable, but suffering, that's a choice. And a lot of times the suffering comes from our first topic of the night, from shoulding all over yourself in the suffering. We got 26 minis left. Any other topics, questions, things that we can help each other with? Come on, I know.
I got something.
There we go.
So I've been fascinated more and more, and I may have kind of asked this question before. This is one that keeps coming up, but going to the next level, Russian doll effect, right? So with NLP, we talk about, people have different meta programs. And we tend to talk in our native meta program, but if we could talk in someone else's meta programs, they're more likely to understand what we're saying, resonate with us, that sort of thing. But I'm just wondering, in practice, it can be really hard to talk in something that's not your native language, so to speak. And I'm just wondering, what are all of your strategies for practicing these different languages and learning to speak in them, and that could be short term, that could be repetitive things you do to hone the skill. It could be things you do in the moment to use the skill. Just any of that sort of thing. What are the techniques that you use for that?
All right, who's got an answer for Miss Holly?
I actually didn't understand the question. Do you mean like when there's a language barrier?
So when there's a meta program language barrier, so to speak. So for instance, if you're a very visual person and you're speaking to someone who's very auditory, and so you want to speak in a very auditory way, but it's not your native language, or one of the big ones for me is I sort for exception, and a lot of the world sorts for similarities. Just various meta programs of how we talk. How do you speak in their language in their programs?
It's going to be really simple. I don't know if you're going to like it. I just take it as an opportunity to practice my craft, and I just practice my craft. I know I'm going to speak with this person next Wednesday. We have a meeting. From now till next Wednesday, I'm going to practice talking to everybody in an auditory way. And by the time we come around to the meeting, it'll be a little bit easier because I'll be hearing what people are saying, and it will sound like I know what I'm saying. See, I'm already going into the auditory. It'll sound like I know what I'm saying, and and it's just going to be an opportunity to practice. That's all I see it as. It's not like if you believe that you and they both want the best outcome out of the situation, and that you're on the same page, and that you're a team working together to kind of get this win-win situation going, then even if you mess up the meta program thing, you're still going to succeed. So that is always at the core. And then if you want to start using things like meta programs and speaking the way they like to hear, or speaking their language more, that kind of thing, then that's just extra on top. But really, that's not the difference that makes the difference in achieving a goal collaboratively with another person. That all comes down to, is your heart in the right place? Do you truly desire the outcome for them as much as you desire it for yourself, and that kind of thing? So I know it's not like the sexy answer that people want, but it works. Is your intention truly there? Is it truly on the thing? Are you do you have a hidden agenda that you didn't yourself know about? Is that what was getting in your way? Or are you really working for them to get what they want as much as you getting what you want, and that you both get everything you want out of it?
And adding to that, I think it really helps to be in a practice group where you're all practicing your skills, and make this a game so you can actually, in a fun and relaxed way, do these practices and get proficient or more proficient at it.
Absolutely. Lenora.
I love what everyone is sharing. I find that I focus a lot on what Elijah said about intentionality. Is your heart in the right place? But I also do echo technique, and then if I hear it, I'll tailor it to them, and it'll get better. I'll specifically use when I notice I'm really paying close attention is when I'm trying to teach students to do something very specifically, and what else do I need to pull in to help them really understand how they're learning, because most people aren't paying attention to it. They're not like, oh, I'm an auditory person, or I'm really visual. It's so unaware to them. But I also loved what Fran said about the practice groups. I think that Saturday practice group and the groups that Elijah runs are phenomenal, and just, oh my goodness, tons and tons and tons of knowledge in there. Great stuff.
Very cool. And I love the fact that Fran and Lenora stole my answers. Oh, I love, and one thing I'm going to add to this, if you truly want to work on this and you don't have access to a group, in a way you do. And that is to have lists of the words for each of the meta programs and pick one. And like if you're going to be talking on the phone or something, like, especially if you're going to be talking on the phone, have a list of auditory words next to the phone and be able to look over at them, and not so much that you can worry about matching the person that you're talking to at the time, but to be able to talk auditory to that person at the time, or talk visual to the next person, and you start getting used to talking in these different meta programs. And like Lenora brought up echo, one of the easiest ways, if you're not sure, is echoing them, because there you are matching their words, whether it's auditory, kinesthetic, or any of the above. Does that help you guys at all?
Great answers. I do have a follow-up question for everybody. So when it comes to visual, auditory, kinesthetic, those are pretty straightforward. We've got great lists of words. I'm just curious, is there a good place to go for words for the other meta programs? So for example, what words do towards people use versus away people? I might be able to extrapolate what I think they might be. Or, people who sort for difference versus sort for similarities, or, obviously there's a big list. Other than auditory, ChatGPT would love that. So other than visual, auditory, kinesthetic, that one, are there lists of how the other people communicate, words they use, how they communicate, so to speak?
So, language pattern, the phrase language pattern does not mean that there is some kind of special magic word or sentence that you say. It's an understanding of a way of speaking for a certain duration of time, that duration being however long it's useful, in order to achieve an effect. So if I was talking to someone who sorts by exception, then when I'm making my point, I would say, now the reason why this method is different and perhaps better for you than all the others is because, and I would point out why it stands out. Now, there's not a specific set of words in there that are like, because the word different and the word specific, maybe the word specific, maybe the word different, you could say are words that you could use to get across the point that this thing you're talking about is different from all the others, and that's why they should be paying attention to that. Or if they were someone who sorts by sameness, you might use words like, well, in the majority of cases, you might use a word like majority or something like that, right? So there are no specific special words. It's just your normal English, but it's constructed, the sentences are constructed in a tactical way so that you match what the other person favors in terms of their internal processing strategy. Does that make sense?
The word tactical is so powerful right in that, because it's the understanding of how that machine runs so that you can match the rhythm of the machine. And one thing I was going to add, great explanation, Elijah, is if you have the time and the ability, take a storytelling class and then take uh, mm, I can
Improv?
see improv. Thank you. Ah, you read my mind. Yes, storytelling class and improv class. Once you understand NLP, oh, Fran.
Thank you for raising a storytelling class. I've recently joined an Australian hypnotists group storytelling class, and we have the intention for creating manifestations in our improvised stories. And it's proving incredibly powerful in actually manifesting what we want in a gentle way. So, storytelling is really powerful. It is totally creative.
And stories are hypnotic in general, anyway. The better the story, the more hypnotic it is. Same with, that's why movies. And when I point out to people, oh, hypnosis, I'm like, you ever been to a movie? You ever lost track of time? Ever felt a flood of emotions while watching a movie? You're hypnotized. Wait, what? You ever drive home on autopilot? Fran.
And just as an addition onto that, I wanted to share with anybody that's interested, having not got the link with me, there's an Australian magician who's actually taking improvisation and presentation. He's about to do another training session, and I'm just about to sign up for that so that I can be. What was my point? I've lost my point now. But about
What?
storytelling and bringing what you want into reality and the how to and all these opportunities. If you actually start showing the intention, how the universe is just going to present one after another in your plate, but it's up to you whether you use them or not. I'll get the link and I'll put it in the chat.
Awesome.
Thing is, Holly, when you first meet someone for the first time, they could be anybody. They could be any way. You don't know who they are or what they're like until after you've interacted with them. But does that not also mean that you could be anybody?
Oh,
You don't have to be your normal self every time. You don't have to be the same self that you have practiced being for all, like I've been around 44 years on this earth, right? And I don't have to be the same me that I've been practicing for the majority of those 44 years with each new person I meet. I could practice being someone different. I had this mad idea, like, what if I just pretended that I was confident with every new person I met? Would they just think that I'm a confident person? Would I be, and if I'm perceived that way by the people around me, would that influence me to behave that way? Just because that's how they perceive me? Short answer is yes, it does. It freaking works. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are going to be like, oh, I don't know, he's going down the fake it till you make it road, and I don't like being disingenuous. And it's all in the name of stretching and having fun. No one's telling you to be dishonest. No one's asking you to lie. Just, try something on for size for a little while. And you'll be surprised just how wide. It's just like in the improv class that has been recommended, and I So wholeheartedly agree. You know, when you're in that improv class, you're gonna be stretched a little bit, you know, to the edge of what you thought was possible. And yes, that too, Bran, that too. Sorry. But I kind of lost what I was saying. Point is, have fun with it. Be whoever you want to be. Even if it's temporary, it's okay. Because if they're a stranger, then it doesn't matter so much because you might not see them again ever anyway. If they're cool with it, then they're cool with it and there's no problem. And if they're not cool with it, then you probably don't want to be their friend anyway. So, like, it doesn't really matter anyway. You didn't lose anything. You just tried something for the sake of trying it, right? I know Lenora had a hand up, so I'm going to kind of retract.
Mhm.
I love that. Yes, be an idiot with a stranger. You don't have to deal with the consequences.
But, and this comes right in line with anybody who's taken my class for Identity Management University. If you can act it out, the ingredient is in you anyway. I've covered this many times. We all have many personalities inside of us. And so, as Elijah pointed out, if you can show me what you would look like if you had a lot more confidence, it's in you. You're not wearing it all the time for whatever reason. Maybe somebody was like, you're arrogant. They mistook your confidence for arrogance, or you got shut down somewhat for whatever, or you don't feel you deserve to be that confident in the world. It doesn't mean that that's not who you can be. You have that ingredient inside of you. And yes, you could call it fake it till you make it, whatever. Or you could say, this is who I am today. This is who I plan on being from now on, Fran.
And we only use a few % of who we are. We have this incredible instrument, our body, our voice, our movement. And if we actually start using it and the tonality, we express more of who we are and we inspire other people much more. So this is why I'm signing up with Vin Yang.
Yes.
I
Vin
need
is
to
amazing.
use the instrument and have
Yeah.
fun.
Vin, yeah, when you point out, no, I know his stuff quite well, which is where I was reinforced at the ability to use pauses, to use inflection. You guys have watched me enough. I don't speak monotone, and I use all sorts of this and that, and I, because I want to have people engaged. I would rather offer edutainment than a sermon. And Vin is remarkable at it. And I love watching his little snippets of his class where he gets people come out and he goes, okay, now try it this way. And he proves they've already got the ingredient inside of them. Oftentimes, they're just afraid to use it. I don't know if you guys remember the movie Sister Act, before Whoopi turned into who she is today. We'll just leave it at that. But her transformation of the choir, it wasn't that she replaced the choir. She taught them how to use the instruments they already owned, which was their voices, and then got them to sing in a different manner. And we have the capability of doing the same. That's why I love going out in public, especially like airports. I think we pointed out once before, in an airport, it's a pretty even playing ground. You don't know where they came from. You can judge a little bit by their clothing, but you didn't get to see the car they rode in. You don't know what kind of house they're from, where they, and they know just as much about you. That's why when I go to the airport, I will put on a button-up shirt, a tie, and nice shoes. And I've got a number of people that when I told them don't go to the airport in your best Walmart pajamas and your fuzzy slippers, and notice how you get treated. And if you really want to have some fun, I know some people that they will decide who they are, almost like improv. They're going to go on the stage and they will be somebody completely different than they are. Including some of them will just mess around with different accents and dialects and tell everybody they're from a completely different country. Lenora.
I was trying to backtrack, and I don't know how we got on this topic, but anyway, I know Elijah had mentioned faking it till you make it, and this is something that, guys, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, an extraordinary amount of time thinking about this. And I find for me that it is, I'm very physical. I can tell you if it's my younger self and it's coming from my chest, or if I can feel differently and it's coming from a different part of my body, and who else is showing up. And as I'm going into a meeting or as I'm going to do something new, the younger version of myself is like busting through my chest, and then we have to have a sit down conversation between these parts and really get myself on board of who do I want to show up. And I find that it's not so much fake it till you make it, as in like, no, you're not worried, no, just throw it away. Or like even when I went off camera, again, a battle, and noticing like, okay, this one's just telling me lies. That's where we are at this point. This one is just screaming out lies, and we can't have that anymore. Who's in charge? And when I can notice who's in charge and acknowledge that, okay, I'm feeling all of this, where do we want to go from here? Then I can navigate differently into a different situation. And then I can show up with the intention of who I want to show up as, and having that autonomy and having that authority that says, okay, we've quieted this version, we've got this handled, now we're here. And it really helps. And I think it reminds me a lot of grounding, or especially what Mike had said first thing in the morning, really just coming down and getting everything on the same field of saying, even it out, and then go.
Awesome, 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 all of you guys. And we're at the top of the second hour. You guys know what that means. It's time for me to once again try to express how much I appreciate you guys, even though I consider myself a pretty good linguist. I don't have the vocabulary to truly tell you guys how much I appreciate you and how much I appreciate you giving your precious commodity of time here on this platform. Thank you. And for those of you watching on YouTube, love you, Mom. And for those of you watching the recording, if you watch it all the way to the end, thank you as well. Please share these videos if you've got anybody that you think could benefit from one of these features, or if you think that there's a really cool part, could I just, squirrel just delivered this to me. If there's a really cool part, would you guys do me a big favor and put it in the comments of the videos? Like, go to, and if you've got the time, I want to respect your time, but if you have the time and you remember in one of our triple T's where something came up that you thought was cool, if you could go back and go, hey, go to 1 hour 32 minutes for ... And I've even been talking to a few people about maybe having somebody help me put together some shorts and some reels out of our triple T's that we could post just to try and help some other people. So I'm asking you guys if there's something that really stuck out that you really enjoyed, put it in the comments or let me know, send me a message, and I appreciate it because I wouldn't have made it to 119 without you. In fact, I didn't make it to 119. We did. So, love you all. Hope to see you again in 7 wonderful days. Until then, please go out, continue to make the world a much better place. Live, laugh, love, and smile. And know that I'm here if there's anything I can offer or do for you. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.